Everybody, it's Donald Rich here with the 10 best Rolling Stones albums. Now, I'm not going to go on explaining how these are my favorites because I crunched the numbers and these are not my favorites. These are the best. No questions asked. Now, I'm not going to go on and say the order might change because no, they won't. Now, I must say, I listened to all my Rolling Stones the last couple of weeks, and I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I listened to other stuff too, mixed in. But I was going to do a ranking video of my Captain Beefheart, and this was like almost a year ago. And I just can't get through listening to all the records. This Rolling Stones one was a piece of cake. So I'm thinking, why do I even have these Captain Beefheart records? Is it I'm trying to be cool? They're cool to have, I don't know. I'll get to that one eventually, and I might end up purging some of that stuff because I really don't like listening to it. Anyways, before I get started, I want to just say, eating breakfast this morning, I realized when you get my age, you resemble Rice Krispies because your body snaps, crackles, and pops in the morning. Holy mackerel. Okay, now also another thing, I don't do honorable mentions, but I have that one over there. That was the last one that got knocked out. So that would officially be my number 11. But anyways, number 10 best Rolling Stone album. It's Out of Our Heads by the Rolling Stones, recorded in Hollywood, London, and Chicago, is it? Yeah. Most of it in Hollywood, though. This, to me, has maybe their first great song with Satisfaction. It has a lot of covers. But I think the two best songs are Rolling Stone originals with Satisfaction and The Last Time. I mean, some of the covers they're good, but I think their originals are probably better. Play with Fire, another great song. But yeah, this is my number 10. Number 9. Probably a lot of people's favorite. And it's Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers. Now, I bought this when it came out. I listened to it a lot. And I don't know, this video might turn into... It seems like every Rolling Stone album has a weakness. And I don't want this to turn into the bad songs of the Rolling Stone albums, but I don't know. I think they all have a weak spot, except for my number 1. That's a darn near perfect album. Anyways, I think the two best songs on this are the opening tracks on side 1 and side 2. You got Brown Sugar and Bitch, and they kind of sound the same. Brown Sugar is followed by Sway. Now, I've heard people say this is an underrated song. No, it's not. I mean, it's not a bad song, but it's not a great song either, Then that's followed by Wild Horses, which is a very good song. And Can You Hear Me Knocking? A really good jam of a song. But if you compare it to what other bands were doing as far as jam-wise at this time, it's kind of mediocre, let's be honest, But side 2, for me, is the weaker side. And I know a lot of people say, no, that's the stronger side, but I don't think so. Starts out great with Bitch. Then I Got the Blues. I don't think it's that great of a song. It's kind of a drugged out, slowed down, just typical blues number. And frankly, I find it kind of boring. Sister Morphine, it's okay. I think it's way overrated. Dead Flowers, I think it's just okay. The last song, Moonlight Mile, it's a good song, but it's number 9. Number 8 is Some Girls. Now, this came out, what, 78 or something? I should have looked up the dates, but it doesn't matter. I like the 3 albums that came out before this. But Goat's Head Soup, my number 11, and Black and Blue. But I think this one was it was a notch above. It had a energy to it that some of those other ones didn't, with the exception of this one. It starts off with Miss You, which they say it's their disco song. I don't know. I think it's a good song. When the Whip Comes Down, that's a good song. It's kind of one of those songs where they just get into a groove and it's just the same thing all the way through. Imagination, it's okay. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, Mick Jagger made it his own." Yeah, maybe, but it's okay. Some Girls is great. That is such a great song. And then it ends with a pretty good rocker, Lies. Side 2 starts off with Faraway Eyes, kind of the wanker of the album. It could have been better if Mick wouldn't have... Why does he have to do this corny country voice when he does these kind of songs, you know? Respectable's very good. Before They Make Me Run. Beast of Burden's good. And it ends with Shattered. Very strong album. Number 7. Between the Buttons. Fantastic album. I think all originals. Really, I mean, it starts off with Let's Spend the Night Together. Very fast driving song, you know. Very cool. But side 2 starts out with All Sold Out and My Obsession. 2 of my favorites off of this album. Now, the weak spot on side 1 is the last song, Cool, Calm, and Collected. And it's the longest song on the side. It's kind of goofy. It's not horrible, but it's kind of goofy. Now, the last song on side 2 is Something Happened to Me Yesterday. And again, it's the longest song on the side. And it's a downright wanker. And I think that song may have given Paul McCartney the idea of, I got to put a wanker on all my albums, you know, starting with When I'm 64, Your Mother Should Know, and Honey Pie, you know, these old goofy, I don't know what kind of songs they are. I call them the Paul Wanker songs. But yeah, this is a great. The biggest hit off of here is probably Ruby Tuesday. Number 6, another great album, is Aftermath. Now, it starts out with, I think the A and B sides is the other singles. Paint It Black, Stupid Girl, Lady Jane, and Under My Thumb. And then the last 2 songs, Don't Bother Me and Think. Just side 1 of this is perfect, dude. It is great. Side 2 is a little weaker. And the worst song on this album is, again, the longest song on the album. Going Home is 11 minutes and 35 seconds. If they would have cut this to, I mean, and there's a point where it could have been edited easily to 3 minutes and 20 seconds, I believe. It'd be a great song. There's also a point they could have edited it at the 4-point mark. You know, the ending, it just goes on and on and on, and nothing really happens. It's kind of like doom metal, you know, where they're just playing the opening chords of a song for 30 minutes. This is like winding down for 7 minutes, and nothing really happens. But other than that, this is a great album. Number 5, Let It Bleed. Probably some people's favorite again, you know. 5 isn't bad, though. Now, my issue with this, okay, it starts out with Gimme Shelter. See, the songs are not in order here. Okay. It starts with Gimme Shelter. And then it goes with Love in Vain. which is kind of slow. And Mick does a great vocal delivery, but the song is it's just a blues number, and it's kind of drags a little, in my opinion. And then that's followed with The Wanker on the album, Country Honk. For what it is, they actually do a pretty good version. I think it has fiddle, and why they couldn't have just put Honky Tonk Woman on the album. And then it is followed with a great Love in Vain, is it? No. Man, I hate it when they're out of Live With Me. Great rocker. Now, I've heard people say, oh, this is just a standard Rolling Stones song. And actually, no, it wasn't. In 1969, Live With Me was not a standard rock and roll song. It was kind of an introduction of that jagged guitars, which in 79 was kind of a standard thing. In 89, it was definitely a standard thing. But 69, no, it really wasn't. They did have jagged guitars in their early stuff, but it didn't sound like this. And then the last song, where is it? I don't even see it on here. Whatever. It's a good song. What the heck? Side 2 starts off with Midnight Rambler. It's a good song. I've seen them do it live way better than the version on here. On here, it doesn't really have the punch that it could have, you know? And then you got the Keith Richards song, follow that up. You Got the Silver. Pretty good song, you know? And then you got Monkey Man, another one of those good, great rock and Stone songs. And it ends with You Can't Always Get What You Want. Let It Bleed. That was the last song in the second one. Why? It's the name of the album. For God's sake. But You Can't Always Get What You Want. It's a long song. Some people say it drags on, but I think it's a great song. I really love their version of it on here. Number 4, Rolling Stones Now. Now this is from their very early period where the albums contained more covers than originals. In fact, this album has 2 originals on side 1 and 2 on side 2. But the version of their covers on this is better than like the Out of Our Heads and they're just, I mean, Somebody to Love, Mona, Down Home Girl is great. But one of my favorite songs off of this is it's an original and it's Off the Hook. It's just great, man. Heart of Stone, another original. Mick Jagger's vocals are great on that. And this doesn't really have a wanker on it, man. It's my favorite of the early, you know, bluesy rhythm and blues cover albums that they did. And I love this album. Number 3 is Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street. This is a fantastic album. It's different than all of their others. On a lot of the songs, Mick's vocals are not out front like they are normally. They're kind of buried in the sound. I wouldn't say buried, but they're lower in the mix than normal. It's a pretty weird album in that regard. And I don't think this is one of Mick's favorite albums. In fact, I think I've read that he didn't really think it was that great. I would have to disagree with him. The first album, side 1 and 2, is darn near perfect. Side 3 is probably where the weakness comes in. It starts out strong with the cover, the Keith Richards song. And again, the song title's on here. But then there's 3 songs, and 2 of them are pretty good. That I Just Want to See His Face. It's okay, but and then it ends strong, and side 4 is darn near perfect. So, yeah. Number 2 is Their Satanic Majesty's Request. Now, I've criticized this album in the past, saying that it ends if they would have replaced the 2 songs that end each side and put on like Dandelion, We Love You, the song they did with John and Paul, I believe, or Children of the Moon, this would have been could have been the best psyched album ever made. Now, with that said, I think there's only one kind of weak song on this album. It starts off with Sing This All Together, which is it's just an intro song. It has a good vibe to it. And then it goes into Citadel, which it's a top 10 Rolling Stones song in my opinion. In Another Land, and then 2000 Man. Those 3 songs are great. And then it ends with Sing This All Together, See What Happens. And it's a long song. It's like almost 8 minutes. But upon listening to it this past couple of weeks, it's fantastic, man. It's an unusual song. It's kind of experimental in parts. And I think it's a great way to end side 1. Side 2 starts with She's a Rainbow, the biggest hit off this album. And in fact, it's in commercials now. The Lantern, another great song. Gomper and 2,000 Light Years from Home, some people's favorite off this album. And then it ends with On With the Show, which goes on for 3 minutes and 40. It's kind of goofy, and it doesn't work as much as the intro. It could have been maybe shorter, and they could have maybe put Children of the Moon or We Love You on there. Or end with We Love You, Number 1, Rolling Stones album, and I think it's a perfect album. It's Beggar's Banquet. It's got some sounds, some songs that would kind of point in the direction that they would go, and quite frankly, would kind of get stuck in the mud in. I mean, it's not a bad mud to get stuck in, but whatever. It starts out with Sympathy for the Devil, a fantastic song considering when this came out. Mick's vocals on that are out of this world, dude. I've said it before, I think John Lennon is probably the best rock vocalist, and I think Mick Jagger's number 2. And that's saying a lot. Next song, No Expectations, a great slowed down bluesy type number. Then it goes into Dear Doctor, which was a song I didn't like when this came out. I thought, at the time I thought it was the wanker of the album. I like it now. Parachute Woman, great. And then Jigsaw Puzzle, just one of their classic epic songs. Side 2 starts off with Street Fighting Man, which is it's a great rocker. And I recently found out that they made a demo tape, and that's what they used on this. They just took it to the studio, and he said, yeah, we want to use that. And then they dubbed stuff on top of it. But yeah, Stray Cat Blues, that's kind of like that rockin' song, that sound that they kind of would go into later in the 70s. Oh, I forgot Prodigal Son, Factory Girl. The ending with Factory Girl and Salt of the Earth. Just 2 great albums. And I thought I would show this. I didn't really show the backs or insides, but yeah, I think the best Rolling Stones album. Anyways, take care, everybody. Oh, the Jets suck. Zach Wilson, man, he's the worst quarterback in football, dude.